The vegetables you are about to hear about cost the people who grow them almost nothing to maintain, and most of them have been quietly feeding families for decades, sometimes centuries, from a single planting. The garden industry doesn't talk about them much. And when you understand why, you'll never look at a seed rack the same way again. The bedding vegetable business makes billions every year, selling annuals, plants you sow, harvest once, and rip out every autumn. Plants that need you to come back and buy again next spring. Perennial vegetables, the ones that come back on their own year after year, have never fit that model. In this video, I'll show you 10 vegetables you plant once and eat all year long, plants that laugh at frost, shrug off drought, and ask almost nothing of you except a small patch of ground and a little patience. Stay until the end. The last plant is a hidden gem that most gardeners have scrolled past in every catalog they've ever opened, and it might be the one that changes your whole approach to growing food. And somewhere around the halfway mark, I'll share something about one particular perennial vegetable that the seed industry has been very quietly hoping you never looked up. This list wasn't built from a catalog. It was built from years of testing, planting, waiting, watching what actually came back, what actually fed a family, and what quietly died after one hard winter despite the label promising otherwise. Every plant here has been grown successfully in North America and the British Isles. Every one of them has a track record that spans not just seasons, but generations. Some of these were kitchen garden staples for 300 years before the annual seed trade quietly pushed them off the shelves. The gardeners who grow these are not special. They just made one decision you are about to make: plant once, eat for years, and let the garden do the heavy lifting. Plant number 1. Asparagus. Asparagus disappeared from most kitchen gardens sometime in the 1980s. Not because it stopped working, it never stopped working. It disappeared because it asks something from you, something the modern garden industry has no patience for: time. You plant it, and you wait 2 years before you harvest. That 2-year gap is exactly why seed companies push annual vegetables instead. Annual vegetables give you results this season. Results this season means you come back and buy again. Here is the number that changes the calculation. A well-planted asparagus bed produces harvests for 25 to 30 years from a single planting. Some beds on English country estates have been producing since the Victorian era. The oldest documented asparagus planting still in production is over 100 years old. That is not a vegetable. That is infrastructure. The lazy gardener's benefit is almost embarrassing. After year 2, asparagus does everything itself. It emerges in spring without any intervention, produces for 6 to 8 weeks, then ferns out and feeds its own roots for the following year. You cut it. You eat it. You walk away. Repeat for 3 decades. For those of you in the USA, asparagus is hardy in USDA zones 3 through 8. Plant crowns, not seed, in early spring, 4 to 6 weeks before your last frost date. If you are in zones 3 to 5, mulch heavily for the first 2 winters. In the UK, asparagus is fully frost-hardy and essentially bomb-proof. Plant between March and April. Most UK soils and climates are ideal. Jersey Knight and Conover's Colossal are reliably available, and both perform well. In Canada, asparagus handles extreme cold without complaint. Plant in May in zones 3 and 4. Look for the variety called Guelph Millennium, which was developed specifically for Canadian conditions and handles temperatures as low as -30 degrees Celsius. One tip most people miss: plant your crowns under a 3-inch layer of wood chip mulch. Asparagus spears push straight through it. Weeds mostly don't. You cut your weeding time in half from year 1, and the bed stays productive far longer because the soil never compacts. The gardener who plants asparagus this spring is deciding that their future self will still be grateful for it in 2045. A lot of what comes next shares asparagus' core quality. It rewards patience. But the next plant doesn't even ask for that. It will feed you within weeks of planting, and it won't stop for years. Plant number 2. Perpetual spinach. Perpetual spinach, also called spinach beet, is one of the most misunderstood plants in the vegetable garden. Walk into most garden centers, and you'll find 3 varieties of regular spinach, which bolt to seed the moment the weather warms above 18 degrees. You will rarely find perpetual spinach on the shelf. It doesn't bolt. It doesn't need replacing. It comes back from the same plant for up to 2 years. The annual spinach industry has no interest in you knowing that distinction. The average gardener who grows regular spinach gets about 6 weeks of harvest before the plant bolts and turns bitter. Perpetual spinach, from a single sowing, can produce across 18 months, through summer heat, through autumn, through mild winters, and back into spring. That is 3 to 4 times the harvest from one purchase. You harvest the outer leaves and leave the center. The plant keeps producing. No thinning, no succession sowing every 3 weeks, no watching helplessly while half your crop runs to seed in a warm May. Pick what you need, leave the rest, come back in 3 days. In the USA, perpetual spinach grows well in zones 4 through 9. Sow direct from March through September. In zones 8 and 9, it will overwinter without protection and become genuinely evergreen. In the UK, it is fully winter hardy across almost the entire country. Sow from April through August. In mild winters, which is most UK winters now, plants will produce light harvests year-round. In Canada, it performs well in zones 5 through 7. Mulch over winter in zones 5 and 6. Sow between May and July. It will need replacing every 18 to 24 months, but still dramatically outperforms annual spinach in total yield per planting. Perpetual spinach is a direct relative of beetroot and Swiss chard, the same species. This means it shares beetroot's extraordinary tolerance for poor, dry soils. Where regular spinach demands rich, moist, well-fed ground, perpetual spinach shrugs in difficult conditions and keeps going. It is the workhorse you didn't know you needed. When you stop fighting annual spinach's bolting habit and switch to this instead, you reclaim the simplest thing a garden should give you: food without struggle. Next up is a plant that most gardeners think they know, but almost nobody grows in a way that lets it reach its full potential. Plant number 3. Welsh onion. The Welsh onion has been grown continuously in British kitchen gardens since the 1600s. Despite that, it vanished from most catalogs by the 1990s, replaced by spring onions, annual versions that need fresh sowing every single year. Welsh onions don't die after one season. They divide and multiply. Every autumn, one clump becomes 3. Every spring, you have more than you started with. The seed industry replaced them with an annual for one reason: annuals need to be bought again. A single Welsh onion plant, divided every 2 to 3 years, can produce a self-sustaining colony that feeds a family indefinitely from the original 2-pound purchase. Some gardeners in the UK have been passing Welsh onion divisions between families for generations. The plant costs less than a bag of spring onions at the supermarket, and it never runs out. You harvest the green tops exactly as you would spring onions, snip what you need, and the plant keeps growing. In mild winters, you can harvest almost year-round. In cold winters, it dies back briefly and returns stronger in early spring, often before any other vegetable in the garden is showing growth. In the USA, Welsh onion is hardy in zones 3 through 9. Extremely cold tolerant. Plant in spring or autumn and divide every 2 to 3 years to prevent overcrowding. In the UK, it is fully hardy everywhere. Plant spring through autumn. Divide in autumn after the growing season. It can be harvested 9 to 10 months of most years. In Canada, it performs in zones 3 through 7, one of the most cold-tolerant perennial vegetables available. Mulch in zone 3. Varieties sold as Tokyo Long White are often the same species and perform well. One naming note worth knowing: Welsh onions rarely appear in North American seed catalogs under that name. They are often listed as bunching onions, Japanese bunching onions, or Sibyl. The plants sold as bunching onions in the US are almost always the same species, Allium fistulosum. Don't let the name confusion stop you from finding them. The cook who grows Welsh onions never reaches for the spring onion section at the supermarket again and quietly enjoys knowing why. We are only at plant 3. Plant number 7 is the one that surprised me most when I tasted it side by side with the shop-bought version. It is not even close. Plant number 4. Sorrel. Sorrel was in almost every British and American kitchen garden until roughly the 1950s. Then food trends shifted toward milder flavors, and sorrel, with its sharp, lemony, almost electric taste, fell out of fashion in the English-speaking world. In France, it never went anywhere. French home cooks never stopped growing it, never stopped making sorrel soup, never stopped stirring it into omelets and sauces. They knew something we forgot. Sorrel is one of the fastest-growing perennial vegetables available. It produces harvestable leaves within 6 weeks of planting, and once established, it puts up new growth from as early as February, often the first edible thing ready in the whole garden. A single plant spreads into a clump that can produce 2 to 3 pounds of fresh leaves per season with zero fertilizing. Cut it back hard, and within 2 weeks, it regenerates completely. There is no plant on this list that gives a quicker visual and culinary reward after a harvest. For gardeners who want immediate results alongside their long-term investments, sorrel is your answer. In the USA, it grows in zones 3 through 9. Plant in early spring. It tolerates light frost once established and goes dormant in extreme summer heat in zones 8 and 9 before returning in autumn. In the UK, it is fully hardy and RHS rated H7, among the most cold-tolerant ratings available. Sow or plant from February onwards. Broadleaf sorrel is the most commonly available variety and the best for kitchen use. In Canada, it is one of the few perennial vegetables that performs as well in Zone 3 as in Zone 7. Plant in May. It overwinters reliably with no special treatment. Most people think sorrel can only be used as a salad green or a wilted side. In practice, it works as a substitute for lemon juice in almost any dish. The oxalic acid that gives sorrel its sharpness breaks down beautifully in heat, creating a silky, tangy sauce with no added liquid needed. 1 handful of sorrel leaves, stirred into a pan with cream and butter, makes a sauce that restaurant kitchens charge significant money for. Growing sorrel is a small act of recovery, reclaiming a flavor that your grandparents' generation took for granted and the supermarket will never sell you. The plant coming up next is the one the commercial seed trade really does not want you to know about. Not because it's rare, but because of what it reveals about the entire annual vegetable model. Plant number 5. 9-star perennial broccoli. 9-star perennial broccoli was once a staple of Victorian kitchen gardens. It produces not 1 head, but 9 or more side shoot heads per plant, per year, every year, from the same plant, for up to a decade if you treat it well. It was largely replaced in catalogs by annual broccoli varieties in the 20th century. Annual varieties need buying, sowing, transplanting, and replacing every single year. 9-star doesn't. That asymmetry has always been more convenient for the seed trade than for you. A single 9-star broccoli plant, once established in its 2nd year, can yield 4 to 6 pounds of edible florets per season. A pack of seed that produces 4 plants costs around £3.50 in the UK or $5 in the US. That same investment in annual broccoli might produce 1 season of harvest. This plant produces for 8 to 10 years. The maths need no explanation. After the 1st year of establishment, this plant manages itself. It comes back in autumn, overwinters as a leafy crown, and in late winter, often February or March, it throws up its multiple white heads while the rest of the vegetable garden is still bare. You harvest before the annual season has even started. In the USA, It performs best in zones 5 through 8. Plant in autumn for spring harvests. In zones 7 and 8, plants remain semi-evergreen. Mulch crowns in zones 5 and 6 for the first winter. In the UK, it is RHSH 5 rated and extremely well suited to the British climate. The cool, damp winters that annuals struggle with are exactly what 9-star thrives in. Plant between September and October for first-year establishment. In Canada, it performs reliably in zones 6 and 7. Zone 5 is possible with serious winter protection. A thick straw mulch makes it achievable. It is not widely sold in Canadian nurseries, so order seed from UK specialist suppliers, which ship internationally. The critical management rule most growers miss: never let the plant flower. The moment 9-star goes to flower, it believes its reproductive job is done and annual behavior kicks in. It begins to decline. Cut every head before it opens. Cut while the buds are tight. This single habit extends the plant's productive life by years. The gardener who figures out 9-star broccoli looks at the seed rack every spring with a different kind of calm, the calm of someone who already has what they need. Plant number 6. Globe artichoke. Globe artichokes were a luxury crop for centuries, grown in walled kitchen gardens for wealthy households across Europe and North America. At some point, they got reclassified as difficult or space-hungry and were pushed off most gardeners' lists in favor of crops with smaller footprints. The difficulty reputation is largely false. The space requirement is real, but what you get in return per square foot makes almost every other vegetable in the garden look like poor value. A single established globe artichoke plant spreads to 4 to 5 feet in diameter and can produce 10 to 12 edible buds per season. In mild climates, the same crown lives and produces for 10 to 15 years. At grocery prices, artichoke hearts routinely cost £1.50 to £2 each in UK supermarkets, $2 to $3 each in US stores. A single season's harvest from one plant represents over 15 to 20 pounds of produce at retail price. Once established, globe artichoke is essentially self-sufficient. In warm regions, it is semi-evergreen. In cold regions, it dies back. You pile some straw on the crown, and it returns in spring with new vigor. Annual management amounts to cut back the old stems in autumn, mulch, and wait. That is it. In the USA, it grows in zones 5 through 11. In zones 5 and 6, cut to the ground in autumn and mulch heavily. In zones 7 through 11, plants remain semi-evergreen. Plant in early spring. In the UK, it is rated RHSH 4 to H5 and fully hardy across most of the country. Plant between April and May. Green globe is the most reliable variety. Purple violetto is beautiful if your winters are mild. In Canada, zones 6 and 7 are reliable. Zone 5 is possible with serious winter protection. Cut hard in October, pile 6 to 8 inches of straw mulch, and cover with fleece or burlap. Many Canadian prairie gardeners grow them as annuals and still consider the harvest worth the effort. Globe artichoke produces offsets, small baby plants around the base of the main crown, which can be separated and replanted. One original plant becomes 4 or 5 within 3 years. You never need to buy another. Many gardeners quietly pass surplus offsets to friends and neighbors, building what amounts to a neighborhood artichoke network that started from a single 4-pound plant. The artichoke is not a vegetable you plant because it is easy. You plant it because it is worth it, and because every year it proves you right. 6 plants in, and we haven't even reached the one that most surprises visitors to experienced kitchen gardens. That is plant number 8, and the reason it surprises people is not what you'd expect. Plant number 7. Good King Henry. Good King Henry, its botanical name is Chenopodium bonus henricus, was called poor man's asparagus in English cottage gardens for centuries. It gave the same spring shoots, the same early season harvest, the same cut-and-come-again growth to households that couldn't afford real asparagus. Then the economy shifted, asparagus became accessible, and Good King Henry was quietly forgotten. It should not have been. The two plants are not competing, they complement each other perfectly, filling the same seasonal role with different textures and uses. Good King Henry produces its first harvestable shoots in the same early spring window as asparagus, March in the UK, April in most of Canada and the northern US, from a plant that is fully established within 1 year of planting, not 2. You eat a year earlier. For the impatient gardener who wants perennial vegetables now, this matters enormously. The young spring shoots are eaten like asparagus. The leaves through summer work like spinach. The seeds, when mature, can be used like quinoa, same genus, same nutty flavor. One plant gives you 3 different harvests across 3 different seasons. No annual vegetable on the market can match that range of uses per square foot. In the USA, it grows in zones 3 through 9 and is extremely adaptable. It tolerates part shade, useful for awkward spots where most vegetables refuse to grow. Plant bare root or seed in early spring. In the UK, it is fully hardy and rated RHSH7. One of the most cold-tolerant perennial vegetables available. Sow direct from March. It tolerates almost any UK soil, including heavy clay, which is more than most vegetables can claim. In Canada, it grows in zones 3 through 8, one of the very few perennial vegetables suited to Zone 3 without any special protection. It is available from specialist Canadian seed companies and is well worth seeking out. The side-by-side taste test is the thing that convinces skeptics. Good King Henry shoots, blanched in boiling water for 2 minutes and served with butter, taste nearly identical to white asparagus, mild, slightly earthy, tender. The gardeners who discover this in their first spring harvest almost always become evangelists. The ones who haven't tried it yet simply haven't grown it yet. The best plants in any garden are the ones that make you wonder why you ever bought something from a shop when the earth was offering this for free. The next plant will be familiar to almost everyone in name. But I'd wager that fewer than 1 in 10 gardeners uses it in the way that actually makes it shine as a perennial. Plant number 8. Lovage. Lovage is one of the most misunderstood plants in the English kitchen garden tradition. It shows up in old seed catalogs under herbs, which immediately relegates it to a small pot on a windowsill, but lovage is not a herb. It is a 6-foot-tall perennial celery substitute that returns every year from a crown that lives as long as rhubarb does. It tastes of celery more intensely than any celery you will ever buy in a supermarket. It requires almost no attention, and for reasons that almost certainly relate to its size and permanence, the mainstream gardening market has never quite figured out how to sell it. One lovage plant, fully established by year 2, provides the celery flavoring for a family of 4 across the entire growing season. At UK supermarket prices, celery costs roughly 70 pence to a pound per head, and most home cooks use the equivalent of 30 to 40 celery stalks per year in soups, stews, stocks, and salads. From one permanent plant. No buying, no replanting. Ever, lovage dies back completely in winter, right to the ground, and re-emerges in February or March as one of the earliest signs of life in the whole garden. By May, it is chest height. By July, it towers above most other plants. The leaves, stems, and seeds are all edible. You harvest by cutting what you need. The plant doesn't care. In the USA, it grows in zones 3 through 9. Plant in spring after the last frost. It dies back in autumn and re-emerges reliably. In zones 8 and 9, afternoon shade prevents leaf scorch in peak summer. In the UK, it is rated RHSH7, virtually indestructible in British conditions. Plant in spring or autumn. It is one of the easiest perennial vegetables available, though it is often mislabeled as a herb at garden centers. Don't let that put you off. In Canada, it grows in zones 3 through 7 and is extraordinarily cold hardy. It performs beautifully in zone 3. Divide crowns every 4 to 5 years to maintain vigor. Lovage seeds, harvested when ripe and dried, are a genuine spice. They taste of celery and mild anise, and they are almost impossible to buy commercially in either the US or the UK. Professional chefs who have discovered them pay significant prices at specialist markets. You can grow them for free as a byproduct of a plant you already have for its leaves and stems. The gardener who discovers lovage tends to wonder, briefly, why no one told them sooner. Then they stop wondering and start cooking. Plant number 9. Turkish rocket. Turkish rocket is perhaps the least known plant on this entire list. It is not sold in garden centers. It barely appears in mainstream seed catalogs. Most gardeners who have heard the name have never seen the plant. This obscurity is one of gardening's quiet injustices, because Turkish rocket is one of the most productive and longest-lived perennial vegetables in existence, with a track record going back centuries in cottage gardens across Europe. Turkish rocket has a documented lifespan of over 20 years in the same spot without replanting. It produces edible young leaves in early spring, with a pleasantly mustardy, nutty flavor, and then, in late spring, it throws up young flower shoots that can be harvested and eaten exactly like sprouting broccoli. 2 crops from one perennial, from a plant most people have never heard of. It is almost completely drought-tolerant once established. It grows in poor soil. It grows in partial shade. It grows in gaps in paving that other plants refuse to colonize. It is, to put it plainly, the most forgiving vegetable on this entire list. Plant it somewhere difficult and watch it make that space useful. In the USA, it grows in zones 4 through 9. Plant in spring or early autumn. It is an excellent performer in dry climates, the Southwest and high plains, where water-hungry vegetables struggle. It naturalizes readily once established. In the UK, it is rated RHS H7 and fully hardy throughout the country. It is rarely available in garden centers, so order from specialist perennial vegetable suppliers, Plants for a Future, Idulus, and Backyard Larder, all of which carry it. Plant in autumn or early spring. In Canada, it performs in zones 4 through 8 and handles both the cool east coast and the dry prairies well. It is available through Canadian heirloom seed companies. Turkish rocket is in the same botanical family as regular rocket, but it is not the same plant. Unlike a regular rocket, which bolts and turns bitter in warm weather, Turkish rocket's leaves remain palatable and mild throughout the season if you harvest regularly. The more you pick, the more tender the regrowth. Some of the best things in any garden are the ones no one pushed you toward, the ones you found yourself, planted quietly, and kept growing long after every trend had moved on. 9 plants in. The one I promised you at the very start is next, and it is genuinely unlike anything else on this list. And now, the one I promised you at the very start. I saved this for last because it is genuinely unlike anything else on this list. It is not a flavor substitute for something familiar. It is not a workhorse you grow because it is practical. It is what happens when a plant is so good, for so long, that it survives centuries of kitchen garden culture, and then is almost completely erased from public consciousness in less than 50 years. Most gardeners scroll past it in specialist catalogs because the name sounds like something you'd find on a beach, not in a kitchen. That is a mistake. This is plant number 10. Sea kale. Sea kale, botanical name Cram meridima, was served at the tables of Thomas Jefferson, Queen Victoria, and the finest London restaurants of the 18th and 19th centuries. It was harvested wild from British coastal shingle beaches for centuries before it was cultivated. At its peak, sea kale was considered the finest forced vegetable in the English kitchen garden tradition, a delicacy that wealthy households forced under terracotta pots every February to produce pale, sweet, tender shoots unlike anything else in the garden. Then the Second World War came. Food priorities shifted. Labor disappeared from kitchen gardens. Sea kale, which requires the small ritual of covering and uncovering to produce its blanched shoots, fell away. And it never came back. Which is a loss that is difficult to overstate once you have tasted it. A sea kale crown, once established, which takes 2 to 3 years, similar to asparagus, will produce from the same crown for 20 to 30 years. Some documented sea kale plantings in British walled gardens have been in continuous production for over a century. The flavor of blanched sea kale is often described as a cross between asparagus and hazelnuts, mild, sweet, nutty, a combination that does not exist anywhere else in the vegetable world. Maintenance, after establishment, is low and deeply satisfying. In January, you place a forcing pot or an upturned bucket over the crown. 6 to 8 weeks later, you lift it and find pale, beautiful shoots ready to harvest. After harvest, remove the cover, let the plant grow all summer freely to rebuild its energy, mulch in autumn, and repeat next February. That is the entire annual workload. In the USA, it grows in zones 4 through 8. Plant crowns in early spring. It thrives in well-drained, sandy, or gravelly soil. If your drainage is poor, raise the bed. Thomas Jefferson grew it at Monticello, which still sells crowns today through their Heritage Plant program. In the UK, it is rated RHSH 7, fully and absolutely hardy throughout the country. It is one of the few vegetables indigenous to Britain, growing naturally on British shingle beaches. That adaptation, baked in over geological time, is why it performs so effortlessly in British conditions, and yet almost no garden centre in the UK stocks it. The named variety Cram Meridima Lilywhite has the best flavor and is worth seeking out from specialist suppliers. In Canada, it performs in zones 4 through 7, with the best results in maritime climates, such as British Columbia, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. It requires excellent drainage. Order crowns from UK or US specialist suppliers. The gardener who learns to force sea kale in February, lifting the pot on a cold morning to find those pale shoots waiting in the dark, knows something about patience and reward that cannot be taught any other way. So there you have it, 10 vegetables you plant once and eat all year long, across years, across decades, in some cases across generations. Asparagus, building infrastructure that lasts 30 years. Perpetual spinach gives you harvests 3 times longer than annual varieties from the same planting. Welsh onion, dividing and multiplying until it costs you nothing. Sorrel, the forgotten flavor that comes back every February before anything else is awake. 9-star perennial broccoli, producing 9 heads a year from a plant the seed trait quietly shelved. Globe artichoke, architectural and generous, producing for 15 years. Good King Henry, the poor man's asparagus that is actually nobody's poor relation. Lovage, the 6-foot celery plant that flavors a whole kitchen from a single crown. Turkish rocket, the most forgiving perennial vegetable almost nobody has heard of. And sea kale, the Victorian delicacy, the beach plant, the blanched winter harvest, quietly waits for a new generation of gardeners to remember it. Whether you are gardening in the US, the UK, or Canada, every one of these will earn its place without demanding yours. No constant replanting. No buying the same seeds every spring. No watching 200 pounds worth of annuals freeze in a late frost. Just food, real food, your food, year after year, while everyone else is still reading the back of a seed packet. If you are the kind of gardener who would rather plant once and eat for a decade, subscribe. We share guides like this every week, built around plants that actually work in real gardens with real lives behind them. Drop a comment below, which of these are you trying first? I read every single one, and if you are torn between two, say so. I will point you in the right direction.